All right, you guys, when I told people we were moving back to Michigan from California, I swear, people looked at me like I was absolutely bat crap crazy. Okay, like no joke, like you would have thought I was checking into an insane asylum the next day. You're trading palm trees and sunshine for what? Pine trees and snow? I just don't know how to justify that. And I will say, like, they had a point. I did second guess it quite a bit. I was like, are we making the right decision? Like, should we give it a little bit more time out here in California and just see if maybe our feelings change? Well, they didn't. I think they just grew stronger about what was really important to us. And, you know, for context, California was never a forever thing. You know, it was more of like a 3 to 5 years. We're young. Let's see where things go. Let's see where we can take our careers. And that got accelerated because at the end of the day, coming back to Michigan wasn't about the weather. It wasn't about the cost of living. It was about something far greater than either of those things that California just couldn't offer. So if you're somebody that's thinking about making a move to Michigan, maybe you grew up here and you moved away, or maybe you went to college here and now you want to come back, or maybe you're somebody that's just been following along with what's going on in Michigan and you have some questions about living here, well, I'm going to cover all that in today's video, and this story might hit home for you. So let's get into it. Hey, if you're new to me and new to my channel, my name is Eric and I help people move to Michigan the right way. A lot of the same reasons that you might be considering moving to Michigan are the same reasons that so many of our clients have moved to Michigan. I've heard this story time and time again. You know, when we moved out to California, it was for a job opportunity. When we moved back to Michigan, it was for a completely different reason. So let's get into my story. All right, so first things first, you guys, if you're here to listen to me talk about how terrible California is or bash California, I'm sorry, it's not that video. We love California. Our experience personally, I got nothing but great things to say about California. However, you know, we were in Orange County, we were in a bubble, take it with a grain of salt. You know, people living in California have said like, oh, you guys haven't seen anything in California. You guys were like so far removed from everything. Okay, cool. Noted. However, this is not that video. Right. But I will share some of the things that we felt we left in California that if we could have taken those with us to Michigan, we would have. Right. And we would have changed a few things. But, you know, moving back to Michigan for us was about one thing in particular. And it was about something California really didn't offer. And that was our family. Okay. That was super important to us. And we've always said if we could have picked our family up and moved them to California, that would have made a lot of sense, right? Like obviously a lot of logistics involved in that and a lot of jobs and a lot of, you know, different things to consider for all of our loved ones. We come from a big family. You know, I got 5 brothers and sisters. My wife has, you know, 2 brothers and tons of cousins. And we were both raised, you know, in Michigan households where we were from big families and cousins were in the neighborhoods. Like we had our built-in family and friends growing up. Okay, I remember going to my grandma's house and that's all we did was play with our cousins. Like those were our friends growing up. And I have so many countless memories, you know, as I'm sure you guys do watching this, of just growing up and being able to spend summers, you know, with cousins, birthdays, you know, with cousins and siblings and just being close with the family. That was my childhood. And when we were out in California, you know, we experienced a lot. Okay, we explored California like you will not believe. We checked out pretty much every single beach, you know, close to us, all the way from, you know, Newport down to San Diego. Okay, we were just exploring. We checked out all the wineries, you know, that were near us in Temecula and, you know, just around the Irvine area. And we did hikes. Like we never hiked in Michigan growing up, but when we got to California, we're like, hey, we're gonna go on hikes, right? So we started getting outdoors a lot more. Saw a bobcat on one of those hikes, which was kind of terrifying. If I'm being honest with you, I may or may not have peed my pants.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Okay, it's a true story. But, you know, we started doing a lot of other things out in California that we really didn't do as kids growing up in Michigan. Yes, we got out into nature. We were on lakes a lot, you know, water skiing, doing that. But it was not like I needed to be out in nature like all the time, but I felt that in California. So that's one thing I did bring back with me, you know, from California to Michigan is like, be out in nature more, right? Take advantage of it. And I know the weather is tough sometimes to do that, but that was really important for me. And for context here, like we moved out to California because I got a really great job opportunity at the company I was with right out of college. And they said, yeah, we'll head out to California. You can head up our global logistics department and it'll be great. Right. We were building a whole new supply chain department out there. It was great. I was traveling to Europe. I was traveling to Asia. I was doing things in my 20s that most of my friends who graduated college, who were working for the big three, Ford, GM, Stellantis, they couldn't even comprehend like the breadth of opportunity I had, which was really refreshing to know. I was on to something really cool, and I really enjoyed it. So that's what brought us out there. And what ended up happening was I saw some writing on the wall, with the company. This was kind of like a 3 to 5 year thing for us in our head. Like Brianna and I, like, hey, if we can be out here for 3 to 5 years, that'd be great. And started getting these like weird feelings in my stomach, like something doesn't feel right. I think something's about to happen and it's not good. It could jeopardize my job, and I don't want to be stuck out in California. So that 3 to 5 year plan kind of accelerated our decision and said, okay, do we stick it out, try to find a new opportunity here, or do we follow our guts and follow what we already know is going to happen? Is like, we want to be near our family, right? The 3 to 5 years was just thinking like, we're not probably going to have kids for 3 to 5 years. So let's, enjoy, let's build our careers. And then once we have kids, we'll move back. And that's the one thing that I hear time and time again from a lot of you guys who are scheduling Zooms with me and making that move here to Michigan is you've done exactly that. Okay, you followed that same exact path that we did, which was like, hey, we left college, moved out of the house. We moved out to California or New York or Chicago or maybe somewhere in the South too. And we're like, now we're having kids and we're learning that being out here alone without family, it's okay, right? We're kind of on our own, but it would be really nice to have mom and dad's help, or just grow up near their cousins, right? And we thought about that really hard. We sat down and we're like, can you imagine our kids growing up without their cousins? Like the life that we had in Michigan, like vacations together, just being on the beach, in Michigan, going up north, experiencing that. And we're just like, no, I don't see it any other way. So our decision was kind of made for us, already. Like we knew life in Michigan was always going to be there. But again, we didn't know it was going to accelerate that much. And when we did move back to Michigan, we lived in Ann Arbor, and Brianna got pregnant pretty quickly after we got married and moved back to Michigan. So all that plan just like really accelerated. Like we thought we had all this time, but we ended up moving back to Michigan because we saw the writing on the wall with the job, and we were thinking about kids, but the more we thought about it, the more we manifested it, and it just happened, right? So, God's plan just accelerated us a little bit sooner, and we welcomed our first child, in 2016, and we've just been so blessed ever since here in Michigan. We started looking in Ann Arbor, and like we do with you guys, is we start talking about the community, because I made a lot of mistakes, moving to California and then moving back to Michigan. And those mistakes, I don't want to say they were like the most detrimental thing, because we were young and we didn't really have all the responsibilities that we have as parents nowadays, but had we made those decisions when the girls were a little bit younger, or maybe even in school, I think they would have been bigger deals for us. And I share that with a lot of parents and people that we work with now that do have kids. I just had a conversation with one of you guys who was moving from Florida to Michigan, and he said, hey, I got to be there in December. I'm thinking about this city, I want to get my kids in a good school. And I said, okay, cool. Like, how's that look? Are we renting? Are we buying first? It's how I'm going to rent. I said, okay, great. Well, let's look at the housing market too, because renting is going to go into homeownership at some point. And if you're changing kids' schools now, then 6 months to a year from now, we don't want to change again unless you're okay with that, right? I know as a dad and as a parent, like we wouldn't want to change our kids' schools twice within a year's time, right? It's hard enough to change a school once for a kid, but twice in a year, like you got to start all over. You got to make new friends. Like that's tough. And nowadays, what life in Michigan is like for us is we get to see our family all the time, right? And this is just how we pictured it. Birthday parties, family gatherings, holidays, just pop-bys, right? Little play dates. And, my family is now having tons of kids. My last sister just had her second kid. So now there's 10 nieces and nephews, in our family. We've all multiplied, right? There's 5 of me and my siblings, and then there's now 10 of us. So you can imagine what birthday parties and get-togethers are like. I mean, the kids are just running around like crazy. So this is just how we pictured it. And even next year, we're already planning family vacations to northern spots that we love to check out. We went to Oscoda as kids. My mom's dad my grandpa had a cottage there, and now we're going back, right? And refilling our kids' memories with the childhood that we have. And that's the cool thing. Like, I love the fact that we now get to share some of these moments and things that we did as kids, and now our kids are looking forward to it. Like, they are just so amped. They're like, can we go back to Oscoda, the beach? And they had these like t-shirts that says Cousins Crew on it, and like, hey, we need to get new t-shirts made. I'm like, yeah, you need to get new t-shirts made, because those are the memories that they're going to really remember. And again, I hear these stories from you guys as well, and it's so cool, because if you've had this in any other state, like, it's not just Michigan. This is why we moved back to Michigan for us. But growing up near family is always that thing that I blessed if you can do it. Right? If opportunity knocks, you need to take it, and that's where life takes you. Totally get it. But for us, it was just having our kids grow up near their cousins, their family, knowing their grandpa and grandma. They're not just like people we see once a year. That was super important to us. So those are the things that were really important to us. And some people were like, you guys are crazy, just absolutely crazy for leaving California. But we wouldn't trade it for the world. Okay, so if you're somebody that's really considering making that move here to Michigan, and you want to get more in depth of like what life is really like, here in Michigan, just book a Zoom call with me. Happy to share. I'm very transparent about all the areas in Michigan. Talk to you guys like my brothers and sisters. But there's only so many things I can say as a real estate professional. So I do have to point you in the direction of school ratings and crime ratings and things of that nature. But I do tell you how it is. Like, some of these areas are growing really rapidly. Some of them are really competitive real estate wise. And where you see the good school ratings and the best places to live, these are usually the more popular areas. And they're for those reasons. People want to live there. They really value the community, and they got a lot to offer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had this whole script about this video that I was going to kind of go through, and I had some talking points that I wanted to really hit on, but I ended up just kind of speaking, from the heart on this one and sharing our experience, moving from California to Michigan, why we did it, some of the things that were happening at the time that kind of forced our decisions to be accelerated. Wasn't one of my normal videos, but if you guys do have questions, again, reach out. And if you do want more content on all things living here in Michigan, go check these videos out, and I will see you on the next one.